Hey guys, my name's Matt and today we're going to be doing a VOD review. Well, a self-VOD review. We're going to take a look at a recent match I had at 4.3 KSR playing Ana on Numbani. I know for a fact I made quite a few mistakes this game and I'm looking forward to breaking them down for you and maybe even explaining some of them. Let's get started then. The first thing I looked at was our team comp. Our Reinhardt actually swapped to Winston to give us a bit more of a dive comp. The problem is though, that left us without a front line. The first mistake I make in this game is I don't communicate with the team about where we're going to go first. Fair enough, it's everyone's responsibility to communicate, but you know you're going to have a better time if you can kind of confirm with the team as to where you're going to go. You can see we're scattered all over the place to begin with, and it doesn't help with the Winston and Tracer kind of pushing over to their backline. Winston comes back and I get some heals on him and then decide that we're going to go through main road together. The problem, as I said before though, is with having a Winston and a Tracer, you've got two heroes that are kind of jumping towards their backline. So it left us with not really much of a front line, just Xayah, and I was very reliant on Xayah's position here. Unfortunately, Xayah kind of feathers back and forth for some reason, and I get hooked by Roadhog. It was bad positioning from me, and I should have stuck with Xayah and where she was positioning. Again though, it really depends because she should have been further forward. Then she gets hooked, unfortunately she survives. I can top her back off, and I prefer to scope in for this just to make sure that I can definitely get those heals in case someone pushes to try and finish her off. Again, I get hooked, I'm out of position again, it's stupid of me. Again, I understand the importance of putting some pressure on here because look, Soldier managed to kill both of our flanking heroes because we didn't have any pressure on the main road. Now we're going to have to hold off here and wait for them to get back, otherwise we've got no chance of pushing in very easily. Fortunately, Xayah's managed to start playing a little bit more aggressively here and I can just keep her healed up and let her sponge most of the damage here. She commits quite a bit there and actually manages to take out the turret twice, and now our Winston's back. Here I decide to nano boost our Winston. It is a little bit of a waste because we actually cleared them out quite easily there. But he does go on to kill the soldier, which stops him from getting back and attempting to retake the point. Because for some reason this Torbjorn decided to commit to that. I missed a sleep dart on him, but for some reason he's trying to hammer me to death anyway, so it's not really so much of an issue. But it was a bit of a waste from him, and if Soldier was alive they could have attempted the retake. I think the thing with ulting though, as Ana, is thinking about how quickly you can regain that ult. Fortunately for me, I seem to build it quite quickly, so it shouldn't be too much, it shouldn't be too missed here, really. Now the problem with this team comp is, we don't have a lot of people that are sticking with the payload. With the Tracer and Winston, we've got a lot of aggression there, but obviously someone's going to need to stick with the payload, preferably 3 people to keep it moving at full speed. You can drop off here to kind of clear the choke as soon as possible, which isn't always a bad idea. It stops them from coming to take it. At this point I call out that Roadhog is on high ground because there's a good chance he'll come round and pick someone up. It'd be silly not to call that out, even though I see a lot of people not bothering with that. We've got the Zen ult going, so I'm just trying to get some damage in, and I managed to sleep this Roadhog. I like to jump into the fight a little bit here so that I can make sure that my grenade deals as much damage as possible whilst healing as many people around me as possible. It's nice to get that little bit of healing on yourself as well. We actually cleared them off quite quickly there, considering, you know, that is quite a decent spot to hold the choke on if you can get there quick enough. But ideally, as I said before, you want to clear that quickly so you can just power on through with your momentum. As we get to here, we're already putting a lot of pressure on the area, which I guess is kind of the benefit of having the Tracer and Winston combo. So as long as you can keep them healed up, you're okay. I like to try and aim to land my grenades as close to the enemy team as possible. That way you're likely to do some anti-heal on them and heal your teammates who are in the front line as well. The thing is with the grenades is if you can land a grenade on a Roadhog, it makes such a big difference because he's unlikely to be able to escape. A soldier's actually behind us, I call out that he's behind us, but I can't do anything about him. I managed to heal myself. Unfortunately, he dies in the end, but he should have been able to take me out there. People need to be wary of the backline though, it makes it quite tricky. I should have slept that Reinhardt before he charged there. I was too busy trying to nano boost the Winston, which is a bit of an issue, but fortunately we still managed to take it anyway. A nano boost on a Winston can actually be quite useful. He harasses people so heavily and he's quite difficult to deal with. And because he's not ulted or anything like that there, people are less likely to prioritise him as a target. And even if they do, he's quite hard to kill. But as you can see, that was quite a quick first half. I did miss a lot of my sleep darts, but fortunately I managed to stay on top and keep healing up the team as we pushed forward. There wasn't actually a lot of resistance from them there, funnily enough. So, moving on into the second half, you can see that we're playing quite a similar composition. We've got Tracer still, we've also got Winston, but this time we've actually got a Symmetra instead of a Zenyatta and a Genji instead of a Widowmaker. It's quite interesting to see how this would play out, because in theory this is quite a difficult composition to defend with. But because we stomped them so hard on the attacking side, their morale is quite likely to be quite low. I try and take my position over on this balcony here, purely because we've already got a Genji and a Winston here. They're quite a good source of protection for me. Quite often I would actually play over on the other balcony if the majority of our team was there, because I like to play unscoped. And in a game where you're likely to get flanked, being on your own on a balcony is going to be quite a tricky one to deal with. At least if you're in with your team, they're likely to be able to turn around and deal with the Genji or whoever it is trying to harass you. It gives me a good viewpoint here as we're defending as well. I can see exactly what's going on in case anyone's trying to flank us or come from low ground. But they actually decide to come main road and high ground, Genji. As Winston jumps into me, I miss my sleep dart and decide to jump down. It's not a great thing to have done actually, and I just try and get a bit of damage in while I can. Unfortunately, the fail here is that I didn't reload in time, and Winston actually got killed. I had to back off a bit because I was being focused by the Zyra and I actually died. I wouldn't blame myself fully for that push there. I don't think our team comp really went well for holding that area, but I definitely think I should have avoided jumping down, backed off a little bit and tried to get close to the Winston or whoever it was that was staying on high ground with me, instead of trying to put some damage into their team there and having to reload when our Winston needed healing the most. It didn't really matter too much in the end though, because we've managed to get in position ready to stop them pushing the choke as quick as we did to them. So I just try and get my healing off and keep everyone topped up while they try and push down. I send a sleep dart in their direction to harass them a little bit, and it does land, fortunately. And then I sent a grenade that way to try and get Winston. It was a bit brash for Winston to dive off like that in the first place, to be honest, and it would have been unlikely for me to be able to top him off there. This is when they start to actually push the choke. We've got a soldier on high ground, but he's being harassed by the Genji, so I just try and keep my aim over there towards him. Unfortunately, I can't. He gets anti-healed, so I can't do anything about him, and then Winston pushes him. They're playing quite a similar composition to what we were playing, so we have to keep backing off here in the end because it's just me and Zaya, as it felt like it was at the start of the game. There, Winston ults and gets shielded, and I get pushed all the way back towards our spawn. I'm trying to do something about him, but there's not really much I can do while he's ulted. You know, I'd already used my sleep dart anyway. Fortunately, as they start to push up here, they still haven't approached the next choke, so we can get in position to hold it again, and people haven't managed to die while I'm on my way there. But unfortunately, we've changed the Symmetra for a Lucio now as well, so we've got a little bit of passive healing in there, and I just send my healing that way. But then Genji starts tracing me, which makes it difficult because I can't do anything about him while he's ulted. He takes me out, and fortunately he ignores Lucio, so we stay with the healer and he gets back over there and does some healing. But we're really a bit of a mess right now, and this would usually, in theory, lead to a point where you would be destroyed completely. We're just all jumbled up. But we've got 4 people actually managing to get back towards the payload now, and we're all pretty much well topped off. Here the Reinhardt actually asked me to use my ult on him, and it made sense because he could actually clear off all the front line which were pushed quite far up. And he keeps pushing forward further and further while this Genji messes around on the payload. I missed McCree there. I should have healed him, but I was too busy trying to heal our front line. It's a common problem you find with Ana. If there's people on the front line that are low HP, they're always going to be your priority. 1, because they're mainly in your field of view, and 2, because they're more likely to take hits while they're there. But people get quite salty about that and start blaming you for not healing them up properly. In the end, you just have to try and multitask and do as much of that as possible. We get caught in a Zarya ult here, and I didn't have my grenade. We could have survived a bit longer if I had used my grenade on us there, but fortunately we seem to be trading quite heavily, including our D.Va, who was on our front line anyway. Lucio seems to be doing some work at this point, which is useful. I think having the Lucio here actually made a massive difference. Sometimes you see that a Symmetra won't actually swap to Lucio or swap to anything, they'll just stick with Symmetra for the whole game, but fortunately at this SR it doesn't happen that often. Unless they're like a Smurf who's trying to do Symmetra 100%. I managed to land a sleep dart there, which makes it easier for Reinhardt to get some smacks in. And we kind of shut them down sooner rather than later. And I think this is quite important when it comes to defending points like this. If you can shut them down, they're not going to be able to engage with their ults, because it still sort of is basically the ult game. Whoever gets to the point first and starts setting up with some ults is likely to win the fight. If they come in with a Reinhardt ult and land that, then they'll just snowball from there. If we use our Reinhardt ult first, then we're able to shut them down before they get there, and they're going to have another 30 seconds trying to regroup again.
Okay, stay here, stay here, hidden.
Fortunately, it takes quite a while for them to get back, so there is a lot of time wasted there.
I'm gonna search.
Yeah, I'm gonna put
Get a grenade in there because they've actually managed to land a Zarya ult, and that was such a great D.Va ult as well. Managed to clear them out heavily there, and I've still managed to maintain my ult too. I try my best not to use it in situations where we're likely to be using quite a few ults anyway, because I think it's important that if they get back, we've still got something, a lifeline that we can rely on in order to take them out. Just get a little bit of damage in there. Maybe not necessary. I mean, the problem is, he'll just be healed up straight away again anyway, and I've already got my ult, so it's probably best not to put that damage that way. But as you see here, our Reinhardt actually charges their Reinhardt, as well McCree can actually pick off some enemies. That was such a great play, you don't see that sort of thing too often. So we've cleared them out again. This is quite a recurring thing actually for this part, and I'm surprised because although it's not the easiest point to take, it is relatively easy if you've snowballed your way there. It's the sort of thing that happened to us. Fortunately, they didn't manage to shut us down here. I think the thing is with using damage as Zarya, sorry, not Zarya, as Ana, is that you're always looking to get a little bit of damage in that will help your teammates finish someone off. Unless you, it's like a Pharah where you could completely kill them yourself. There's no point in putting that damage in when you're on full charge. But you can make a big difference if your team are already focusing that target. Especially with your grenades, for example, which would stop them from being healed back up. It's ideal. I actually didn't see D.Va fly past here low, so I took a few seconds to actually start healing her. And because it was time for our Reinhardt to get ulted again, I didn't actually manage to get the healing off on D.Va completely in the end anyway. From this distance, I managed to keep some healing on Reinhardt, and he keeps harassing their front line. Someone manages to deal with Genji on our main point, so our Reinhardt just keeps pushing forward and shuts him down even further. At this point, it just helps him regain charge, and helps everyone else regain charge for their ults for the next attack. Now I've switched up to a Pharah, so it's partly my responsibility to keep an eye on this Pharah and get some damage in wherever I can. We do have a McCree, but anything Ana can do to make it easier for the McCree or for the soldier is quite important, I think. They're also going to have an easier time taking down our Reinhardt shield, so we need to be not too aggressive, but aggressive enough that they can't just run in like that. I missed quite an important sleep dart on Reinhardt there, but fortunately his charge doesn't yield very much. And there's a lot of healing to be done here, so I land the grenade in front of us, and while Zarya's actually managed to bubble off the D.Va, I get a bit of healing onto her as well. You'd think I didn't land any sleep darts this game, but I'm pretty sure I did. Obviously it's easy to land the sleep darts on the bigger targets, but when you've got some smaller mobile targets, it's going to be a bit trickier to do that. But there is nothing more, oh there you go, there's a sleep dart. There's nothing more satisfying than landing a sleep dart on an ulting Genji or something like that, and it just takes practice. Here, this could have been a big problem for me if he'd have charged me. He did manage to fire strike me and kill me, but I managed to put my ult on Reinhardt before it was too late anyway. That did make quite a big difference here. And he manages this kind of uber charge thing while he was being lifted in the air by Roadhog. It's impressive, he played great as Reinhardt this game. And I think it was important that I used my ult when I did. I think that's something you need to consider with Ana. Don't always wait for everyone to tell you to use it. Think of the right opportunity. If you think you're going to be shut down, use it if you have to, because it doesn't take long for you to build it back up again. And obviously it was already overtime anyway. And that was the end of that game. We actually won that game from holding that choke for an extremely long period of time. It was quite a good game, and I was worried going into it because of their duo stack top 500 players, but it didn't really feel anything different from a normal game. But there were quite a few areas there where I could have improved. I could have landed more sleep darts. I could have been a bit more aware of teammates who are low around me. I don't consider myself one to get tunnel vision too often, but I did seem to get in a few areas there where I'm too busy trying to focus on setting my ult up on the Reinhardt or something like that. In summary, I'd say this was a pretty good game, but it didn't actually require too much on my part in order to keep it flowing. I did get the healing in when I needed it, and I managed to land a few decent sleep darts, but it definitely wasn't anywhere near the potential for an Ana player to kind of have their contribution to the game. But I did get the healing in that was required. I just didn't specifically save any scenarios myself. The ults obviously were a big plus for defending, and that makes a big difference in itself. But I'd say that this was a pretty average Ana game in terms of what I contributed to the team. As it stands, guys, I'm actually very interested in reviewing some other people's VODs. Any rank, any rank. Obviously, if you're higher rank than me, you probably wouldn't want me to review your VODs, but anyone throughout the range of ranks, you can feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to review some of your VODs and have a good look through and kind of analyse where things might be going wrong for you. I'm not saying I can provide you with enough advice to get you out of your ranks, but I can definitely provide you with some feedback as to where it looks like you might be going wrong and where it looks like your team might be going wrong. So let me know. You can always just send me a message on Reddit or send me a message on YouTube, whatever, and I'll get into that and have a little look for you.